All right, so I guess it's Kim, Deborah, Laura, maybe one or two others who will join us. I just want to, I'm going to start in the beginning. I'm going to go through overview, functionality, some specifics in regards to the components of the application. Generally, the presentation's taken somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes, but definitely stop me as we go if you have questions in regarding any of the functionality that I'm showing, um, just to make it more interactive because I don't want you to forget things and come back later and we've not addressed any questions you have. So I'm first going to start out with, even above the application, sort of an overview of what Vacation CRM is all about, just to give you an idea. So first of all, we started the process of building an application for our own agencies. There's two of us, over a year and a half ago. We just felt that the other applications on the market weren't meeting our needs. They weren't intuitive, they weren't user friendly, and we were spending more time and effort on training and adoption than we were actually selling trips for our customers. And every time we brought new people on board, we'd have to go through the new process of retraining, re-educating, and readoption. So we decided to build an application very honestly for ourselves, and about took us over a year to build this. It was a lot more expensive than we expected, and we went the route of partnering with a third-party company called Valix Systems that builds customer relationship management software for other industries. Custom software, a lot of big pharma, a lot of IT companies, and we felt that they had a great flexible platform, and they didn't know anything about travel, so it was a perfect combination for us to build sort of a system off of something that already worked, but add the travel components. As it stands today, Valix is still very much involved in our development effort, but we've also hired them to do all of the third-party data administration. So what that means for those people on the phone is I have no access to anybody's data from the minute you sign up forever, and I basically signed all of our rights away in regards to that, so that we have no access to any databases but ourselves and this silly demo database that we've created for these type of purposes. So that's first and foremost, and we've signed a confidentiality agreement with Valix to ensure that. The website is a website. It's a virtual application. It is backed up on a regular nightly basis, hard backup, so none of the data can get lost. And from a security perspective, the application itself sits separate from the database, so it eliminates things like hacking and other things. Obviously, if Fortune 500 companies are using the same system, they've done their due diligence in regards to security. As long as you're not Target, there should be no problems. That's where the canned laughter generally would come in. Come on, this is light. This is travel. Come on. So that's sort of where we are. We've started out, very honestly, we haven't spent any effort in marketing the application, and that's because still we're primarily, in development mode. Every day it gets better. Every week we do a release, or every 2 weeks, and over the coming months, we'll start to go to market more, and we've already started talking to consortia and larger hosts. Are obviously very interested in this, being the web capability. So it does work any computer, any browser, including all the Apple browsers, works on any tablet device, and I mean you could even pull this up on your iPhone. It's just not the most user-friendly due to the size of the screen. On some of the larger Samsung and the new Apple iPhone, it's actually relatively user-friendly. So that's sort of the basics. I'm going to just go through some of the other things before I dig into the details. Every agency owner, and that what you're seeing now is the agency owner screen. has some additional fields or additional drop downs that you'll see up top. You have the ability to, for instance, if you want to add a custom field that would be on every contact record, that would just be for your agency. As an agency owner, you have that capability, and it doesn't impact anybody else's system. If you wanted to add a new supplier to a supplier dropdown, you have complete and utter control to do that, and it doesn't affect anybody else's instances. You have the ability to create and manage your own users. In this case, I'm the only user in this demo. You have the ability to create and manage your own settings, like your logos, your disclaimers for invoices, your final payment reminder emails, your birthday emails. All of that stuff could be managed at either the agency level, or if you have independent contractors that are using this with a different brand, let's say, you could actually allow them the ability to use their own logo if you permit them. So you have the flexibility as an agency owner to decide how you want to set this up for your agency and any employees or ICs that come under your agency. And we don't dictate that, and very honestly, we don't even see it. Once you have the database, we're here for moral support, best practice sharing. We do a weekly or bi-weekly webinar, for best practices. But other than that, we don't see any of the data. We don't see if you're using the system. It's basically, somewhat turnkey, except for the releases that we will come out with on a regular basis. I'll stop there. Just any general questions before I actually start digging into the functionality of the system. Okay. So the primary functionality of the system lives off this dashboard and main page. That's the first thing that pops up. You will see what we call reminders, and these are reminders that I'll go through the functionality of soon, but it's reminders that you either sent to somebody else or reminders that you receive from somebody else. You have the ability to set up, as an agency owner, notices that go to all of the users on your system that are in your environment. So if you want to talk about a special, if you want to remind them about a certain event, you don't have to send an email. You can actually pop it up here, and it stays here until you tell it to go away. It will always show you what are your upcoming final payments due, and if you're past due, it makes them nice and red for you. What are your upcoming reservations that are traveling? Who's actually currently away? And it looks like in our dummy data, I don't have anybody that's currently away, but it would show up just like an upcoming reservation. What you've last touched, upcoming birthdays, and upcoming anniversaries. Obviously, in a demo environment, we just don't have as much data in here as we do in any live system. A lot of the functionality lives and breathes off the system. So for instance, we've created some functionality where if you want to send a final payment reminder email to a client using this Outlook icon, I can click on it and it will actually pre-format an email, and the formatting in this demo system isn't as pretty as it is in mine, but it gives you the idea of you have complete control over that email. One click send. It's still in your Outlook. You still have a history of it, but it's already pre-formatted with the reservation number and your balance and your payment date. Similarly, on a birthday, you could create your own birthday card and send those emails from the system and have it be one click and send it directly to. Questions on dashboards, and then I'll jump into some of the actual profile and trip information.
Hey Mitch, it's Laura.
Yep.
The only email is compatible with Outlook?
It's compatible with any application email. So whatever is the default email set up in Windows or Apple on your computer, it should open up a window from that email in your system. So there are some like web-based emails that you can't configure to automatically open, but some of those even have applications that you can use as an interface to send those emails. So if you have one-off things, send me a note, and afterwards I could let you know if somebody's using it for that or how you need to set up your application to support it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's more on your PC that you need to change, not this system.
Right. Okay.
But if you're using Thunderbird or any of those third-party email systems, Windows Mail, iMail on an Apple, all of those things should pop up when you click that button.
Okay.
All right. Next, I'll get into just some search functionality. It's free character search. So I could type in a few letters, and everybody with that last name will come up in your list, and I'll give you the information that you can highlight, and you can click on them for additional information. You can create new profiles from here or here. You can create new group profiles, and I'll get into groups in a little bit because that's one of the, very honestly, the strongest parts of this system. One of the other functionalities I'll quickly go through is we have an activities calendar. So if you don't like the dashboard view, you can actually see things pictorially. So you could see who your trips are this month, what final payments you have due this month, and you could click to these links just as you could on the dashboard to get to the underlying information. If you're an agency owner, you could actually set this up and you could view it for all agents. So let's say that there was a hurricane in Cabo and you wanted to see all your reservations for Cabo in the next 30 days for all your whole agency. You could actually look at every reservation in this system via the dashboard view or via the calendar view to see that. Where if you knew you were going to be in a certain destination on a certain date, you could go there and see who you have in the in those locations on that date. If you have a large agency, all agents gets very cumbersome because you could have thousands, hundreds of trips per week, and it gets kind of, these boxes start getting really large. So that's one of the other, we have some people who view these on a weekly or monthly basis and, use this as their calendar and put everything in here and out, from Outlook into here and use this sort of as their calendar system on a going forward basis. So the next step is creating a profile. So creating a person in the system is very honestly as easy as entering in their first and last name. You could type in their birth dates, you can type in phone, emails, TSA information, loyalty programs, everything that you possibly would want to tie as in any CRM application. Everything's user friendly and everything's configurable. So for instance, if you could care less about Skype, you could remove that from your user profiles or Twitter. Let's say you wanted to add a agency rewards number that you wanted to always track. You could add that as a custom field on every single profile and you have complete control over that. The next step is once you create a person, you could quickly create other people related to that person. So if I want to say that this is me and my wife, and she's my spouse, we now have me and my wife as a spouse, and we're tied together in all of our reporting for the system purposes or reporting purposes. If there are other people already in the system, I could link them via this profile relationship button, or I could add people using the quick profile or full profile options. So if I had 4 kids, it would just be as quick as adding how quickly I added my wife 4 more times. The next step in most processes is that they contact you to go on a trip. Let's say this is a trip for me and Anna. We're going on our honeymoon. I'm either awaiting deposit or let's say I'm quoting it. It's a honeymoon. It's not part of a group because you can link this to a group. And really, honestly, in most trips that on package vacations, whether it's any of the tour operators that we're connected to, you don't need to fill out anything else because everything else will come down automatically. If it's a cruise or something that we're not at this point linked with, you would enter this other information and start entering it manually. Let's say though that this is a tour operator reservation. I could then go and add a reservation. Let's call it a package. And for purposes, we'll say that this is an ETG or EGT reservation. I can go and just type in the reservation number, update the reservation from supplier, and in one click, I've now downloaded this reservation. They're going to Hard Rock Riviera Maya. Here's my reservation details. It didn't download my bedding, so I could put that in. I could say it's 2 adults and 1 child. I could put in comments that, let's say I want this to show up on the invoice that this is a honeymoon, 1800 resort credit, travel protection, documents, any other things. And obviously if there's air or other comments, that would come down with this reservation. One click, and now my deposit date, my deposit amounts, all that information has flown down from that reservation. And I could, as quick as generating an invoice from this page, generate an invoice. It doesn't show my logo because this is a demo environment, but it would be your logo up in this left-handed corner, the information that was there, our deposit amount, payments made, total, and all of your terms and conditions included in the invoice that you as an agency owner or as an agent control. All right, questions on that? As of right now, we integrate with the Mart travel companies, travel impressions, and exclusive group travel. More to come. That's making a reservation. The next step is, let's say you made this, you invoiced the client, and they've come back and say, yes, Mitch, I'm ready to make a payment. Rather than actually having to go to either travel impressions or EGT, I can, right from the system, go here and add a payment. Say it's my deposit, it's a credit card, type in their information, link it to the reservation, hit this supplier payment, submit payment to supplier, and the payment will automatically get processed upstream in the wholesaler system. That only works today for EGT and travel impressions. Hopefully more to come. All right, so that will update your invoice at the same time as submitting the payment, so it sort of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. If it's somebody that we didn't have a link to for payment, you can still enter the payment information here. You obviously don't need to enter the credit card information since it's not going anywhere. And you can still save it, and the payment will show up on your invoice so that you can keep track of the payments made on this reservation. Update your invoice. So if I save this and then generate a new invoice, you'll now see that a second $400 payment has been added to the system that I just applied. You could put in notes to say that it was an interim payment or any other notes that you'd want to add. Questions on an individual reservation, the linkage to tour operators, invoices, payment processing? Nope. So that reservation we just made now will show up here as Mitch Torin as a recently modified. It will show up here as upcoming, and it would show up here as when my final payments are due. All right. So the data in this dashboard lives off the underlying data. In this case, it's not showing up because I actually think the status of the reservation is showing fully. So that's sort of individual. Just to spend some time on a group. One of the hardest things about our jobs is managing groups. So we created a dummy group called the Jackson 5 Family Reunion. And we created a simple group profile. So this could be a cruise group, a tour operator group, a hotel direct group. It could be any group. So in this, all you need to do is enter in some information, and then as you go and create individual reservations, you just link it to this group, and what happens is all the trips associated with that group will start showing up under here. So if I want to add myself on that group that reservation we just made, so here's my honeymoon. If I want to now link this to the Jackson 5 family reunion group, and I want to go back to that group profile, you'll now see that I'm linked to that group. If I want to go generate a report to give to a tour operator about that group, I can now, the other ones aren't showing up because they're not deposited. Only the two are. But you could send a report right from the system that demonstrates all the rooms that are booked on the system. There's only 2 rooms booked that actually have deposits, so those are the only 2 showing up. But if the other ones were expired, if we change those other Jackson 5 bookings to be deposited, now those will show up in any reports. So the reports are clever enough to know that if something's expired, it shouldn't show up, versus these are the actual real reservations tied to this group. We're using, these groups for both ad hoc groups, for cruise groups, where we're actually now creating individual invoices for each customer and able to track their payments, for contracted tour operator groups where they don't have the technology and we're using spreadsheets to manage the inventory. We can now generate that same Excel spreadsheet directly from this system, email it to them, and tell them to update their manifest or group master with the information that we currently have in our system. Questions on groups?
Mitch, have you heard about, I know Fuente talked about this at the meeting in Mexico, the new application they're going to have for groups?
Yes.
Is that going to incorporate into this, or is it different? I wasn't at the meeting, my husband was, so I wasn't sure how that would.
Yeah, so I mean, their application, and very honestly, EGT has similar functionality, allows you to manage your inventory on a real-time basis, but it still is not going to create custom it's not going to allow you to create a custom invoice for each individual client.
Okay.
Or, I mean, in a controllable manner. It won't integrate with this from the standpoint of it doesn't allow you to post payments from here into Mark Travel's application anyhow, but it would still allow you to manage your group in a similar fashion. So you would, in essence, instead of sending spreadsheets, you would do your process here, then go to their group application to update the same room in the application. All it's really doing is putting the onus back on us to control our inventory blocks versus having to have a group support person at the tour operator do it.
Right.
So it will more mirror the way a cruise block works at most of the cruise lines, where they want you to self-serve on your inventory, assigning names to cabins, assigning payments to cabins. That's the way the tour operator direction works for the 2 tour operators that will offer that functionality. Very honestly, I view this as a supplement to that, because you can control it. You can control the comments that you're applying to rooms. You can control your payment tracking and other things. and link it to customer history.
Right.
So that if that client was a destination wedding guest and then 3 months later contacted you to book a family vacation, you would actually be able to see where that customer's history was and tie it, to campaigns and other marketing things. Where if you just do it in their system, you don't have that control.
Right.
So I view them as complementary, not competing, very honestly.
Okay, perfect.
So that's some of the group functionality. Some of the other things that this does is obviously allow you to do reporting on client info. It also does commission tracking on the per reservation basis. So one of the hurdles that we have is, let's say we have an FIT Europe booking that may have 5 components. It may have a hotel direct booking. It may have a Eurorail booking. It may have a shore trips excursion. It may have a hotel stay through a tour operator. Those 4 or 5 different components really mean 4 or 5 different reservations with 4 or 5 commissions, different commissions that we need to track. What this functionality allows is we have the ability to take a trip. So this is their trip to, Mexico. We could actually add a second reservation to this trip. So they're going to, I think it was the Beloved, but let's say we wanted to book a tour through Lomas, or, in our dummy data, we don't have as much data, but through TravelBound, we could create a separate reservation tied to the same trip with the same participants and track it separately for commission purposes, but still put it on the same invoice. So for the customer, it looks like one seamless invoice with multiple components. For us, it looks like, in accounting world, different trips, so that we can track that we need to get paid by TravelBound and we need to get paid by Travel Impressions on the same reservation, on the same trip. And what this automatically does is, if it's one of our linked companies, it would download the commission, and then it updates this second box based on whatever preset commission rate you have for the agent. So if you're an agency owner in a one-man shop, this might be 100%. If you're an agent, let's say it's one of your independent contractors that you pay 50%, it would auto-calculate that 50%. It allows for any comments. So let's say an agent made a reservation and logged it, but they short paid the reservation. They can make a note so that when you go for accounting purposes, you can read the comments and then type in this is the paid information. So when the reservation gets paid, I could say it's going to be paid on the end of month check. We received $450. It will auto calculate this based on the percentage, and I can put in any comments like, this differs from your number, please let me know why. And when they go, or we go and generate a commission report, those comments will show up on it. So it's a way for you to track your commissions pending and your commissions paid on a booked basis, on a paid or traveled basis, on a by agent basis, and on a group basis. Questions on anything I've talked about at this point? Commissions, reservations, reporting. All of these reports are available via booked or travel date. The commissions are based on booking, travel, or paid date. You could do revenue by supplier reports, again, by booking or travel date, by supplier, by agent. So we've built a lot of flexibility into reporting that you control as an agency owner, but as an agent, very honestly, you have the same capabilities, with the only difference as you're the only person in your dropdown. So one of the other functionalities we've built is, in the security model, each agency owner controls if they have an open database, meaning all agents can see everything, a closed environment, meaning agents can only see their own things, or a hybrid where you would set it as closed environment that agents can only see their own things, but you could allow, for instance, let's say you have an administrative person, you could say, give this admin access to these 3 people and only these 3 people. So that would be a hybrid model for, let's say, an admin or a supervisory type person, or for vacation coverage, where you don't want to give them access to everything always, but you just want to give them temporary access. In the user management, you can give them temporary access to one person for whatever time period you'd like. I think I've hit on most of the core functionality. I could take some questions if you have it there, and then I'm going to go next step into just the next piece of functionality that's coming down the pike in the next 7 days or so that I can just quickly hit on.
And maybe this is going to be in the next step, but I know you're familiar with Salesforce, and one of the best things we use with that is assigning tasks. So we have one person that goes through email each morning and then takes, if there's new trips, whatever, and assigns that task to different agents.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's a major piece of functionality that I forgot about. So we have this reminder box up top, and shame on me for not bringing this up, because we probably use it just as much as anything else. We have the ability to create a reminder on anything in this system. So you could create a reminder on a trip by adding a reminder. I could assign it to any agent. I could give them a reminder date, type in the reminder. They could type in a comment and mark it complete when it's done. So if I had I want to remind myself to send a note to the resort before they get there, or that they have a food allergy that I need to remind myself about, or that I want to assign my admin that we need to call them on X date to take their payment information, or that I want to have a lead and I'm working on a quote that I want to remind myself to contact them. They're not ready to book now. Contact them December 1st to rediscuss. I could assign anything to myself, everyone, or specific individuals. Or I could assign it, what's really neat, and I can't demonstrate it here, is I could send something as an individual agent reminder. So let's say it's something like, I want all of my agents to send me their vacation schedule for the next month, and I want it by Friday. This means each agent will basically get their own version of that. So when they mark complete, it's not going to remove it from everybody else's complete. So we can send it to a group where if one person clicks complete, it removes it from everyone. Or we can send them as individual so that everybody gets their own separate. And we have those reminders on a trip. We have those reminders on a profile. And of course, I just got logged out. On a profile. Sorry, I don't remember my password for this.
Hey, Mitch, with that being said, will they ever make it that it doesn't time out?
The only reason it probably timed out right now is they're working on this next upgrade. But the way it works now is it's a 4-hour timeout of no activity. And if you see anything different than that, please let me know. And that's just for security purposes.
Mine just logged out as well.
Yeah, that's because they're actually doing some testing, because the release might go in as early as tonight. So we're doing just some regression testing. So that's reminder. So what we find ourselves doing reminders on, let's say one of my agents makes a reservation at a resort chain that we need to pre-register or post for bonus cash or other purposes. I can quickly send a reminder, remind them to do that with the link to do it. If I want to add a reminder for a group, so if I go to that Jackson 5 group, I could add a reminder to say we need a inventory reduction on this date, and give myself a reminder, me and whoever is helping me on this group. And I could set up 5 reminders for this group in about 3 minutes, right as I'm setting up that contract, so that I never have to worry about, the crap, I just missed my reduction date and now I have penalties. So we're setting reminders up all day long, not just for lead management, but even just for reservation purposes. You don't need to set a reminder for final payments for reservations because it's in there. But for groups, for other tracking things, it's a great way for us to sort of remind each other on what's going on. And you can do it in mass or you can do it individually. The other thing while I'm on the screen that I didn't hit on is you could attach a file to anything. So if I wanted to upload, for instance, a group contract, I could go and upload a group contract into the group so I never forget about what that group contract is. And it's not lost in my email or lost in my own. Or if I have it this way, let's say I'm on vacation, whoever's backfilling for me, if they need that contract, they can quickly pull it up and get that information. And they don't have to worry about hunting and pecking for it or emailing me to get it. So every object in our system, meaning a trip, a reservation, a person, a group, all four of those things allow you to both add a reminder or attach a file to them that lives in here with tracking and everything in regards to who uploaded it when and version control and everything. So thank you, whoever it was who reminded me about reminders. And every reminder you get shows up here. It will tell you if you sent it or received it. They'll tell you if it was for a trip, a reservation, a group, or a person. And then by clicking on these things, it will take you to whatever you need to action. So you could read the reminder, or you can go there and actually do whatever you have to do.
With that, is there any kind of syncing with your email, like for emails that go back and forth with clients?
There is no email integration where you can store emails at this point or email from the system and have it track here, but it is on the wish list for future enhancement.
Okay.
That's one of the most requested functionalities, just one of those things we haven't yet gotten to. Okay. All right. So I'll stop there again. Anybody else with questions or functionality? And then I'll get to just this next release that's coming down the pike with some of the functionality that's there.
What about downloading this information to our accountant? I know you said it doesn't sync with...
Correct. The way to do that today is you could add a commissions report and run a commissions report based on a commission payment date. And it will give you a line-by-line accounting for the commissions that were paid that month to send, but it doesn't give you you would have to take that information and load it into accounting software at this point for true accounting purposes. So you can generate what your commissions paid were in total and by agent, but unfortunately that's at this point the limitations for accounting or QuickBooks integration. Again, something that's been requested that's on the enhancement list we just haven't gotten to yet. But that's the way I do it, very honestly, today. Every month I give myself a paid commissions report and then go to QuickBooks and, as you can tell, is open and enter it myself into QuickBooks. Any other questions? So the last piece of functionality, the one that we've been working on for the last 2 or 3 weeks at this point, is what we're calling website integration. So one of the big things about the software was we want to empower agents and ourselves to sell more and do less, sort of administration work. That's why everything is as straightforward and simple as we could possibly make it. So one of the things we wanted to do was actually empower our clients to do some of the data entry in the system themselves. So as of hopefully today or within the next couple of days, we'll have functionality where you could load I'll call it a widget, onto your website that would allow you to say, when you normally ask your customer for their TSA information, rather than them email it to you or give it to you over the phone and you misspell it, you would actually you could direct them to a widget on your website that you may require, your programmer to just install it. That would allow it to automatically accept customer information, like the TSA information, and load it into VacationCRM. It would alert you that new information is available. And what's taken so long is if it's a customer already in your system, it will actually identify that there's a potential duplicate and then give you the options via this duplicate removal functionality of how you want to treat that duplicate. So already in our systems today, every database has this duplicate removal functionality that will allow you to do a compare. So if I go just to, let's make it simple, I want to do a comparison on everybody with the same last name and the first 5 characters, those Jacksons are going to show up, right? And I could merge profiles to say these are the same people. I want to merge these 2 profiles. So here, it's just doing a search on the last name, but you could do, obviously, most of your searches would be on first name, last name, whatever criteria you control. And it allows you to basically say, these are really the same 2 people. I want to merge them, and I can merge them left or I can merge them right based on which is the correct information. And it would combine all of the information, their trip history, their relationships, all into one record. So in this new API functionality, it will basically, if there is no dupe, it will load it automatically and tell you a new one's been loaded. If there is a potential dupe, it will identify and say you have a potential new dupe. Please go to duplicate removal to remove it, and I'll highlight it for you. So that functionality we think is just going to be a huge time saver because you'll never potentially have to go and enter new profile information. So one of the big enhancements that a lot of our customers have asked for the last couple of months.
Now, we already have something like that on our website now.
Yep. So it would just be, very honestly, tying the fields on that screen to our API. So, it's the same information everywhere, right? It's the same name, birth date, address, phone number, email, anything that you'd want to track. We're going to have basically the standard definitions, and it would just be, whoever built that for you would know how to push it to us to receive it.
Okay, so then you can give me the instructions to give to him.
Correct. We will have the sort of instruction document that anybody who knows how to, deal with pushing via XML or similar would be able to very easily implement. And we know that lots of people have them already, so that's why it's very standard. And this way, if people want to use the one we've created, they'll be able to. If people have their own, they'll be able to basically use their own and just push it directly to the database. And then once it's in our system, it would follow the same process.
And we also have a pay form as well.
And there's some questions around payment because in order to be PCI compliant, officially you're not allowed to store credit card information.
Right.
So this system is actually PCI compliant as long as you don't store credit card information. If you wish to store credit card information, I guess legally I'm supposed to say you're not supposed to, but obviously the system doesn't know what data you're storing in the system.
But if we wanted to transfer that, because they send it all on a secure link to us, it could automatically then just load into here.
We would have to have that discussion offline.
Okay, all
right. Any other questions regarding functionality? You already hit on some of the sort of requests going forward. Obviously, we're working and discussing with new suppliers almost on a weekly basis. we've discussed with some tour operators. We started discussions with some others. We started discussions with some cruise lines. In some cases, very honestly, they don't have the capabilities to give us the data electronically without screen scraping, meaning the way some of the other CRM applications force you to log into the system, then click a button to download it into here. We basically believe that it's not a secure and robust way to transfer data. And ours is all done through a backend API directly into the systems of the partners that we've integrated with today. So that's the direction we're going, and that's the direction that we will continue to go as we partner, look to partner with wholesalers. The more customers we have that use certain wholesalers, very honestly, the more negotiating leverage we've had in regards to them wanting to take the time to do an integration. But very honestly, what we found is more and more tour operators, wholesalers, etc., are actually coming to us now and asking how do they integrate with us. We just had an air consolidator, contact us yesterday, saying this would be perfect. It would solve a lot of their problems. Is there a way they could push data to our system? So, I thank those of you on the call who are customers already. Those of you who are just looking at it, feel free after this to obviously email or call us with additional information. And if there's no other questions, or if there are, please fire away. All right. With that, I thank you for your time, and thank you.
Thanks so much. This was very helpful.
Thanks.